Can we just cover off on the housing affordability debate that's still raging? Pauline Hanson a short time ago has released another video calling for immigration to be cut to tackle the housing affordability crisis. What do you think, would that work in Victoria? Do you think that immigration is a factor with these prices rising so high in Melbourne and Sydney?
Look, Sam, there is no doubt this is an issue that's affecting many families, and when you have in a nation 40% of all Australians living in Melbourne or Sydney, it's putting a lot of pressure on prices in those two major capitals. Now, I am a very big believer in decentralisation. Not only do we have to fix our structural supply issue, but we also have to grow demand in the regions. And that's why one of the things that we're pushing very hard in Victoria is a regional rail fund by the Commonwealth to actually invest in, unbelievably important infrastructure to get people from the cities into communities like Geelong. So I think we can do more as a government to drive decentralisation. It's absolutely unsustainable that 128,000 people can move into Melbourne every year, and I think that's the really big challenge. And we're a very unusual country. Whether the UK or the United States, we've got this huge disparity of population in Melbourne and Sydney, and if we invest in passenger rail, as an example, in the regions, that's one very important way that we can bring more jobs and more families into regional Australia, including into Corangamite and the Geelong region.
So just ticking off some of those issues quickly, do you think there's further incentives they could offer migrants to move to the regions? Could there be something in the budget about that? And do you think older Australians to downsize should be allowed to sell their house and keep some of the proceeds as well rather than losing the pension?
Look, on your first point, Sam, I do think that perhaps there is more we can do to give migrants incentives to move into regional Australia. And if we can connect communities through better transport infrastructure, I think that's very, very positive. And I'm also a very big supporter of giving pensioners the incentive to downsize. It's something that I raised with both Scott Morrison and also Christian Porter a number of months ago. So rather than seeing pensioners being penalised, because of course that will affect their assets when they downsize, I would like to see pensioners being given the incentive to sell their family home and perhaps for those net proceeds to be quarantined either in some sort of account or in some sort of superannuation account, so that those pensioners are not penalised because they suddenly have a boost in their assets. I think that would be a really important measure in freeing up housing stock, not just, of course, in the regions, but in Melbourne and Sydney.